What is up, everybody? It is hot outside, and I'm over here fixing to show y'all everything that I got for the new rock crawler buggy. The air conditioning shop that I work in, right there. We're going to build this one in the old shop. No heat, no AC, no insulation. We're pretty much going to build this thing like it would be one of y'all building it in your garage. I want to do this cheap. I want to do it simple. Well, I say simple, but cheap with as many hand tools. Probably going to use like a grinder and chop saw instead of a tubing notcher, that kind of thing. I do have a little 220 welder that come from Jegs that I'll be using. We got a torch over here, and so we're going to build this thing as cheap as possible. I have had a lot of people donate parts, which I'm super grateful for. Got both of my engines are brand new, and they were both donated. Right now, I think I've got about $300 in this thing. So let's go over the parts list, and we'll show you what we got and let you know what we still need to do. And then tomorrow, which this is Sunday, tomorrow we're going to get this other side of the shop cleaned up, and or this other end down here, and start mocking this thing up, setting everything out, and see where we're going to put everything. So we got our samurai axles. There's a rear, front. I'm real happy that this thing has the parking brake cable still on it. All the brakes and everything are still there. We'll probably have to go through those. Although, you know, I'm going to try it with the brakes that's in it. These axles have been sitting, I don't know, 5-10 years. So brakes should be fine. We're going to check it. Yeah, we're just going to roll with those. We are going to leave the rear differential open, and these are actually going to be my turning brakes. I am building this thing for a trail buggy, but I'm also building it for We Rock. So we're going to compete. Well, we're going to sign up and enter Sportsman B class. So it's basically a solid axle trail buggy class. We're going to enter that class and see how good we can do. May work out great, may total bomb it. Either way, we're going to have some fun. The front axle, everything's still on it. It's got the gearbox and all on it, but we're not going to use that. The front end I am going to weld up. We got a used Tractor Supply ram. Got a set of Rancho shocks off of the rear of a new Chevrolet. Got our orbital valve. Got my reservoir, steering reservoir. Got a T90 3-speed with a Dana 18 out of a Jeep Willys that we're actually going to run backwards. So this is going to sit at the front of the buggy. This is going to be our rear output, is actually going to be our front output. Our front output is going to be to the rear axle. And the reason being is that this thing is pretty heavy. I want to put as much weight up front as possible, but I'll actually want the weight somewhat centered in the buggy. And also, this thing right here, let's see. Well, get it to shift. Okay, so that's locked in. That disconnects the front. So that's four-wheel drive and two-wheel drive. The reason I want to turn around backwards is so I can do a rear disconnect. And I ain't gonna spend any money to do it. It's hot. So we're gonna run that backwards. Got to have my little clutch hub there to go on the spline shaft. we're going to run a jack shaft from the engines down in between the seats. It's actually going to weld to this hub. We'll have a pillar block bearing sit here. That'll be splined up onto the hub, which will drive your, or onto the input shaft, which will drive your tranny. Got my little drive shaft stubs there. Got one of the old seats out of the Pinto. Got another Corbeau seat that I picked up somewhere, not real sure. Got some 35-inch BFG crawlers, or KM2s. Picked these tires up for 200 bucks. Tread's not super great, but they'll work for what I'm trying to do. I traded for these wheels. You can see they got a little bit of rash on them, but they're a 15x8, 5 on 5.5. Had all 4 of those. Got my clutches, chain, and sprockets. There's one of the engines. There's the box for it. There's the other engine. And I got 2 of the 1 7/8 balls and 2 of the cheapest hitches that you can buy. I still got to get me a power steering pump, and I need a steering column for my orbital valve. Need to figure out what I'm going to do about driving the power steering pump. I'm actually thinking that coming off of this shaft, when I come out of the back of the engines, putting a pulley and having it drive the power steering pump. Now the only issue with that is the power steering will work while the buggy is in motion. When I stop, that shaft isn't spinning. However, if I need steering while we're just sitting there, I can kick the transmission into neutral, rev up the engines, it'll engage the centrifugal clutches, and we'll have power steering. I ran this on a buggy that I did a motorcycle engine in. It worked okay. I learned how to drive it. You know, it's not the best route, but I mean, that's what we're gonna, I think that's what we're gonna do. I don't think I have enough shaft. That could be a problem. I don't think there's enough shaft coming out of here. I think all we're gonna have is just enough to hold the clutch, and that's it. So, I've had my buddy Jonas mentioned running another engine strictly for the power steering pump. That may be an avenue later, but I'm trying to keep this thing as compact and as lightweight as possible. The transmission and transfer case are actually a lot heavier than what I would like. So my goal, compete in We Rock, place in We Rock, 1st through 3rd, somewhere in there. This buggy will be a 100-inch wheelbase. I'm hoping the weight is around 1,500 pounds. I will have no fuel lines, fuel pump, big fuel cell. I won't have a radiator. I won't have a battery. This thing is all pull start. There's nothing on it that's electrical. So, I mean, there's a lot of weight that's eliminated right there. Oh, one thing I forgot. The engines are actually sitting on all my tubing. So, 1¼ inch schedule 40, and then we have 1.5 inch schedule 80 for the 1 lengths. I did have somebody donate me some Heim joints. So, gonna have actual Heim joints with weld-in bungs and misalignment bushings and all that for the track bars. This is actually Ross Pilgreen. He had donated some of the old stuff off of his buggy. He said whenever his Heim joints get a little bit of slack in them, he replaces them with new. And he had this stuff laying around, so he's shipping that to me. It's greatly appreciated. Just one less thing I got to buy. I was actually going to use like Tractor Supply 3-link joints just to kind of stick with the cheap price tag of the buggy. But that's pretty much about it right now. Like I say, we're going to clean out this area right here. And we're going to build this thing on jack stands and have a little 220 welder in here. I am going to have somebody do some machining for me, which Jonas has a lathe over there in the corner. So he's going to do some machining for me on my jack shaft and getting this clutch hub and all that done, fitted up right. So yeah, I've got to come up with master cylinder, brake lines, that kind of thing. But yeah, the goal is $500. Don't know that I'm gonna make that because I've only got about $200 to play with. But we're gonna do the best that we can. Like I say, I still got to buy a steering column, or if somebody has a steering column that they're not using, maybe it's a little damaged or something, hook me up. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, if somebody does have a steering column, hit me up. Let me know. That'd be great. I have a pump. I just got to get it located. And trying to think what else. My brake stuff. Brake pedal we're going to rob off of like trucks or something like that. So we've got a few vehicles we can rob parts off of that we've been tearing apart, getting the Cummins engines out of. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm excited to get started on this thing. And I don't actually have a chassis design yet. So I'm just going to start laying tubing out and see what happens. So let's go over the goals again. 100-inch wheelbase, 1,500 pounds, $500. Compete in the We Rock Sportsman B class, place in the top 3 with an open differential in the rear. What else? I think that's about it. So we'll see.